use the chat section. And if you would like to say something, then please do. You're welcome to. And so we'll get started. If you want to hit record, Paula, and we'll get going.
Yep, we're recording.
Okay. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's our pleasure to have you with us today. There are many people I know each time that register, but they watch online later when they have time or they're not at work. But those of you who do join us today, thank you. And it's my pleasure, as I say, that you've made the time to join us. So my name's Wayne Elliott. I am the president of the Strauss Naturals Company, and my family are now the owners of the company. I've been involved with Strauss for 30 years now. I started out a customer, luckiest day of my life, when I was told about the Strauss heart drops. I had a heart attack at age 35 that I brought on to myself. I was an athlete in my earlier years, and maybe that saved me from the heart attack taking me. I'll never know. But after the heart attack at age 35, it was 5.5 years before I knew of Strauss heart drops. And that was the luckiest day of my life. I did it to myself, as I said. When I was 16 years old, I leased a Dairy Queen ice cream business. And unfortunately for me, my favorite foods were milk and milkshakes. And I almost lived on them, 14, 15 hours a day for that, I guess, almost 4 years. Milk had always been my favorite food. Chocolate milk, I can drink till the cows come home. No pun intended. I always was like that. And it turns out that unless your mother is a cow, you really shouldn't drink cow's milk. And I don't think there's a human alive that drank more than me, especially in my youth. And those milkshakes almost killed me. So in the 5.5 years between the heart attack and learning of the Strauss heart drops, I went downhill, of course. The heart attack was the old sledgehammer in the chest at my youngest son's birthday party, having catching contest with football. And down I went. When I lost my eyesight, I don't know if it was 10 seconds or a minute. I'll never know. But when I could see again, I was on my hands and knees on the ground, and there was no pain after the sledgehammer. So I did nothing for 6 months, but then the angina got worse. Night sweats, leg cramps, shortness of breath, pinches in my chest. And then my blood pressure went higher than it should have been. And then my heart went out of rhythm. I had supraventricular tachycardia, which was a 1-beat race. I thought my heart was skipping a beat, but the trouble was I felt every beat. So of all the symptoms of heart disease, it was that irregular heartbeat that drove me the craziest. 24 hours a day, it never stopped. I'd gasp at night thinking I couldn't get a breath, and I always did. Anyway, that lucky day came, and when I found out about the heart drops, I had the lady from Strauss courier me a bottle the fastest way, and I was just so hopeful. I had refused all medical treatment, refused the open heart surgery, refused the drugs, blood thinners, statin drugs. I not because I knew anything really about health, but I just didn't like the idea of these chemical drugs. And so I was never one that was in favor of that. I didn't like to take pills, but I was just so lucky. And the 5th month taking the heart drops is when I met Jim Strauss. I rode the train out to Kamloops. And I didn't know at that time that Strauss had anything other than the Strauss heart drops. I never had a booklet or a brochure. I simply called out there after a friend told me he had had his bypass surgery canceled thanks to these Strauss heart drops. So when I got that bottle, I was just so hopeful. And I was afraid I might leave it at one of our offices or somewhere. So I left it on my bathroom sink. And I just honestly only took it twice a day. We recommend 3. but I took larger doses twice a day at the start and finish of my day, which in those days was really only 4 or 5 hours apart. I've seldom slept more than 5 hours a night most of my life. And I'll tell you, in 3 months, I thought I was Superman. In 2 weeks, the hearing returned to my left ear, which was amazing to me. Never considered that could be cholesterol, but it was. And I was so grateful to get the hearing returned. I thought it was from running cranes and heavy equipment and listening to loud music like we all do when we're teenagers. It wasn't. It was cholesterol. And by the third month, I wasn't, but I felt like Superman. I almost stopped sleeping. Jim Strauss would give me heck. I'm not getting sleep. And I just had so much energy. It was off the charts. I started new businesses. Paula and I started into the health business and took over Eastern Canada for Strauss. And, the rest, as they say, is history. But when I got out and met Jim, which was the most profound relationship of my life, the man was a genius when it came to health, nature, and how everything connects. There's a use for everything. Nature doesn't do anything by chance. It's all required, including forest fires. We need the ash. We need the smoke. Now, we don't need all the forest fires that get started these days by careless habits with humans, but that's the reason lightning hits trees and starts forest fires. So Jim's understanding was really profound. And for the next 6 years, he came to Ontario, where I am. He's from BC. Our plant and Paula are out in Kamloops, BC. But Jim would come for 1 month at a time, twice a year, live with me and my family. And of course, we spent all day and doing lectures and radio shows and him teaching me at our kitchen table. And it was definitely the most profound relationship, the most profound information. I've always been an environmentalist. My businesses were shipbreaking and scrap metal and battery recycling. I liked how we did good things for the environment. But once I got into these Strauss heart drops, I wanted everyone to have what I got, which was my life back. And so when I met Jim, I said, I'm feeling like Superman, Jim, but I still have high blood pressure. He said, then it's not your heart, it's your kidneys. There is only two sources, and Western medicine cannot tell us which it is. Which is hard to believe because they have some great technology for diagnostics today that does our medicine system, but they cannot tell which is your problem, your heart, your kidneys, one of your kidneys, or your heart and kidneys. So the heart drops did not lower my blood pressure. And Jim said, then you need our kidney blood pressure formula. I didn't even know they had that. So I took that. And in 3 months, my blood pressure went to 120/70, and it stayed there for 28 years until after COVID, I got myocarditis. Very serious thing, inflammation of the heart. And I also had that irregular heartbeat, which the heart drops did not fix. So he said, you need our CardioCalm. And that CardioCalm, again, 3 months. I took the CardioCalm, my heartbeat went regular, and until that myocarditis stayed regular all those years. I still take the Strauss heart drops. It's almost 30 years now, and I'll continue to take them because I don't want to go back to where I was. I'm obviously prone to clogging and blood restrictions. And so I continue to take the heart drops. That's just a bit of my story and how I got into it. And I just love, as does Paula and everybody on our team, just love the good results people get. It makes us feel very good about ourselves and what we do. And so before I get into some of the nitty gritty, there's just a few comments I'd like to make. Very important because most people are on some pharmaceuticals these days, particularly people as they age. So the Strauss natural herbal formulas do not contraindicate with any pharmaceuticals. None. There's no contraindications. In other words, there's no danger. And I don't care how many drugs you're on. My dear friend who Paula knew, Joe, former football player as well, he was on 16 drugs and had many things wrong with him. He was 400 pounds, tumor in his kidney, sleep apnea, arrhythmia, enlarged heart, congestive heart failure, diabetes. He was a very, very sick man. And in 15 months, he was taking no pharmaceuticals. He was down to 240 pounds, and he went back to work. He actually ran our railroad yard here in Ontario. So there's no contraindications. The herbal medicines that Strauss makes and chemical man-made drugs are as different as food. They're as different as natural food and man-made chemicals. They really have nothing to do with each other. In 46 years, there's not been one complaint to the US FDA, to Health Canada, or the Strauss Company of any serious side effects or harm done to anyone. So these are proven over all those years safe. We have the 100% satisfaction guarantee. Nobody gets cheated for their money with Strauss. If you're dissatisfied, you go back to where you got it, including Strauss' website or Amazon, and you get a full refund. The Strauss family and my family refuse to keep anyone's money that isn't satisfied. And I'll tell you, our returns are so few that they aren't even worth talking about. Why? Because the products work. Most formulas are recommended to be taken for 3 to 6 months. Really depends on your condition, your age, many factors. We're like snowflakes. We're all different. There's no two of us identical. So in our experience, it's 3 to 6 months for formulas, the kidney, the bladder, the prostate, our immune formulas. But the heart drops are different. We recommend the Strauss heart drops are taken for 12 to 18 months minimum. That depends once again on your condition. And then so many people like me choose to stay on them. Most people call it a maintenance dose. And of course, we encourage that. Speaking for myself, I do not want to go back to any blood restrictions. I'm 72 years old in February. And no, I want all the blood flow like the Creator meant us to have. So prevention is very wise these days. With mostly GMO foods, genetically modified foods, 93% of every item in big chain grocery stores are or contain genetically modified organisms. This is man-made food. All the seedless foods are in that category. So that's one clue. There's some evil goes on because there are some things where there are seeds put in, but you can't grow anything with them. You can't grow anything with those seeds. That's simply, I guess, to make us think they're natural fruits or vegetables. But our soil is depleted. We've learned that. We didn't let fields lay in fallow, let them lay dormant for a season every 4 or 5 so they could rejuvenate themselves. There's no money in that, so that is no longer done for the most part. And if the minerals and vitamins and enzymes and so forth are not in the soil, it can't be in the produce, the fruits and vegetables that we're eating. And then on top of it, as nature intended all those vitamins and minerals for us to have. So there's never been a more important time for people to supplement. Strauss doesn't make vitamins and minerals, but everybody should be on some. There's no question about that. I take them every day. Every Schedule A disease, every single one is on the rise. Every disease. We're not winning the battle with one disease, whether it's cancer, which is almost, it's reaching the death toll that heart disease is very close now, and cancer may well pass as the #1 killer. It used to be sort of rare when I was young, but there's reasons for that, and I've just discussed a couple of them: the GMO foods, the lack of natural foods that we were intended to have, and all the chemicals that surround us. They're everywhere. They're in the plastics. They're all chemicals. They're in our water. A lot of city water has chlorine. You know what that does when we go in the swimming pool? It makes our hair like wire rope, and it makes our skin dry. And now it's in much of our city water. We, as I said, recommend the Strauss heart drops for 12 to 18 months minimum. And like myself, it's a wise thing to stay on. Every cell in our body needs blood flow. That's why we have 50,000 kilometers of vessels and veins inside each of us. It's hard to believe. Twice around the earth. That's how many vessels we have. And that's because every cell in our body needs blood. Our hair on our head, right to our toenails, everything needs blood. So when we have a blockage, complete blockage or restricted blood flow, that we're going to have problems. We tend to think of heart attacks or strokes, which is a brain attack caused by lack of oxygen to our heart or our brain. We tend to think of that because they're the major killers. But if you have no blood flow to your feet or to your shoulder or restrict, you're going to have trouble. It's just as simple as that. Varicose veins, all of these things, we need that blood flow. And every single cell in our body needs it. That's why there's more veins and vessels in us than anything else. And the Strauss heart drops are designed for you to have blood flow, for us to have blood flow everywhere we have a vessel, including the ones you can't see, those tiny capillaries that go to our skin, our largest organ. They're all important because everything needs blood. It's like gasoline and oil to your automobile. You don't have it, you got problems. Your car's going to stop working or your tractor. And as far as prevention and cleansing and detoxing, it's maintenance. It's great prevention. If we never changed our house furnace filter, our furnace would stop working at some point, and it would be not working effectively until it stopped working. So our bodies are no different. It's amazing, the human body, but we do need to look after it. So detoxing is a wonderful thing, especially if a person's going to lose a lot of weight. You don't want to end up with a larger percentage of you wastes and toxins. They say that 30%, they say that the average of us has 30 pounds of waste and toxins in us. So if a 300-pound person who had 30 pounds, they might have more. If they had 30 pounds of toxins and waste in them, that's 10% of their mass. If that person loses weight and goes down to the 200 pounds, which is maybe their goal, I'm 200 pounds myself. So if your goal was to lose 100 pounds and you don't cleanse and detox, now 15% of your mass is waste and toxins. And we all know people who've lost a lot of weight, didn't look good. The first signal usually is uneven color in their face. We should have good color, consistent color in our skin. And many of them get sick and die because the toxins and poisons are now a larger percentage of their mass. So if you're going to lose weight, please, either during the weight loss or before, you do some detoxing. They have products on the market. Strauss makes great products because every one of our products has a cleansing effect, including the Strauss heart drops, to get rid of that cholesterol that restricts our blood flow. Who should take Strauss heart drops? Diabetics. They're the only people that should take them every day for the rest of their life. Blood flow is a diabetic's challenge, circulation, and they have a 400 to 500% greater chance of heart attack or stroke than those of us who do not have diabetes. Very serious ailment. And we've had incredible success always with diabetics. They suffer a lot of pain. They can lose their toes, their feet, their legs, their eyesight, all the while being in considerable pain. So diabetics are the only ones that should be on it for their whole life, the Strauss heart drops. Angina sufferers, like I had from clogged arteries, enlarged heart, congestive heart failure, which really, amongst other things, is your heart's inability to take water off your blood. And you basically can drown with congestive heart failure. Your heart and lungs can drown. So that's another, my best friend had congestive heart failure and enlarged heart until he didn't have it anymore, taking the Strauss heart drops. Anybody who's had bypass surgery or stents because of blood flow restrictions, they are prime candidates, especially like me if you've already had a heart attack. The drugs that they put folks on, Western medicine, for example, the statin drugs for cholesterol, they don't claim and do not remove 1 grain of plaque from your body. They don't claim it either. What they do claim is that you will produce cholesterol slower. In other words, you'll clog more slowly. Well, they're the largest selling drug in the world, the statin drugs are. And unfortunately, what we call the cholesterol myth, they're actually, it appears, treating the wrong people. If those statin drugs were beneficial to take in the first place, 8 out of 10 heart attack victims have low blood cholesterol, not high. 80%. It's a landslide. My cholesterol was perfect when I had my heart attack. It was 3.0 here in Canada. That's no doctor will put you on drugs. Mine never recommended it. And then I had the heart attack. So this cholesterol blood test we take is next to meaningless. If you have cholesterol floating in your blood, which is the only thing they can check with a blood test, it's not stuck somewhere. It's not restricting or blocking your blood flow. It's still floating in your blood. In fact, your body may be working perfectly well with your cholesterol, blood cholesterol level. It may mean you're working perfectly well. And when your cholesterol is low, like mine was, and normal and great, the doctor had no issues with it. That's because in my case, it was stuck. It was stuck in my arteries. It's stuck in everyone's arteries that has a heart attack. If you have a stroke, it's either from restricted blood flow in your carotid arteries up both sides of your neck, or restricted blood flow carrying that life important oxygen. Our brain uses 20% of all the oxygen we take in. So if we take in too little to start with, our brain is getting 20% of too little, and we can have a brain attack or a stroke. High blood pressure. Now, if your heart is the reason your blood pressure is high, we guarantee the Strauss heart drops will normalize your blood pressure. In my case, it was my kidneys. I had 2 natural therapists tell me, an iridologist and reflexologist, there was something amiss with my left kidney. So again, Western medicine can't tell us that. When I went on the Strauss kidney formula, my blood pressure normalized and stayed there until I got that myocarditis, 28 and a half or whatever it was years later. Till then, it was perfect. And I stressed and I didn't sleep enough and towed ships and would go 2 nights without sleep and so forth. Plenty of stress running businesses, but that blood pressure stayed steady. Very, very good blood pressure. So for hypertension, if you don't know which is your cause, because there's no test to tell us that, you don't know if it's your heart or your kidneys, you can do 2 things. I'd always recommend starting with the Strauss heart drops, because you do want blood everywhere you've got a vessel to carry it. But if you didn't care which it was, you just want it better, then the Strauss heart drops and the Strauss kidney formula are the keys. Our kidneys and heart are very closely aligned, and the kidneys are actually responsible for regulating our blood pressure. So I think slightly more than half the time with people, it is the kidneys that are the culprit in the high blood pressure. But if you take both the heart drops and the Strauss kidney formula, we guarantee your normal blood pressure. The last thing, well, a couple of more things. Every herb in the Strauss Naturals formulas is historically proven, many of them over many centuries, for their effectiveness and benefits to our health. Things like garlic. There is historical proof going back 200 years of the benefits of aged garlic extract. And each of these herbs is the same. You must consider that 2/3 of the world relies on natural medicine. 2/3 of the world's population, China, India. Well, it's been around a lot longer than chemical drugs, that's for sure. Our native peoples, our First Nations peoples as well believe. And Jim Strauss always said, if you're not made from it, it cannot fix you. And so we're made from the same cells as these herbs, these botanicals in our formulas. But Jim would always say, if you're not made from it, it cannot fix you. And to expect man-made chemicals to actually fix us, now they don't claim to. They don't claim to fix or cure you. But for us to expect that is like expecting the lumber yard to be able to fix our automobile using 2x4s and plywood. You can't do it. You need materials the car is made from. Our bodies need cells that we're made from if we actually expect to get better and get fixed. So it's very important. And that's how the drug companies don't guarantee your satisfaction, obviously. And they do, in their defense, warn you of all the potential harms and serious harms and common side effects. Well, basically, the only side effect you will experience from any Strauss formulas is that detoxing effect. And how do we deal with our waste? Usually in the washroom, urinate, bowel movements, gas. That's how the human body deals with our waste. So you can have from time to time loose bowels. Don't be afraid of that, please. I love that because my body's getting rid of things that it needs to be rid of. From time to time, loose bowels. From time to time, extra gas. From time to time, you may urinate a little bit extra, not for long, but that's the worst that can happen to you after 46 years of commercially available product. There is no harm, and there's no harm with your pharmaceuticals. I need to stress that. They're as different as food and man-made chemical drugs. It's like the twain never meets, and we always say we guarantee our formulas despite any pharmaceuticals you might be on. So that's just a bunch of general things that I wanted to say. So we'll talk about the individual formulas.
Wayne, I would just like to further add what you're talking about. We often refer to as a healing crisis, whereby they start taking a new supplement and they're experiencing some symptoms that they might mistake for negative effects from the product.
Yes.
But it's not. It's the healing process.
That's right. That's
the
right.
elimination. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that, Paula. It's very important. Well, years ago, and I've talked, of course, to hundreds of mostly men who experienced this, but at some point in taking those heart drops, I'll never forget this. I had the strangest feeling that one day it's like someone opened a tap inside my chest, and I felt this. It was obviously blood flow, but I felt it go from the left side of my chest to the right. There was no pain. It was just the most unusual thing I'd ever felt. And up until about 25 years ago, Western medicine did not believe that heart cells could be revived. In other words, once they're dead, they're dead. Well, they know better now, and Strauss always did. Jim Strauss and his family always did know better, because for the most part, what it takes is the blood that is not getting restricted or blocked blood flow once again. And that's what it was. And it's no pain, as I say, when that happened, but it was obviously a blockage that had finally cleared and some blood flow was moving, and it felt like someone opened a tap in my chest. So yeah, you're not going to experience any difficult side effects. If you were having any trouble at all, indigestion, for example, anything at all, there's nothing wrong with reducing your dose for a couple of weeks until your body got more used to it. We are all different. We're like snowflakes. No two of us the same or identical. And we're in different states of condition, different ages. So there are differences. We've had people, so help me God, the older men have said that they had instant energy and had trouble sleeping after one day on the heart drops. Now, I don't think that's usual. And I would say that, like in my case, I did have my hearing return in 2 years on the heart drops, 2 weeks rather, I'm sorry. And my bronchial cleared in maybe the 4th or 5th week. And then the energy went like this. I was like a jet taking off. So that's what you should expect. If you need Strauss heart drops, you should expect increased energy. And you'll be, like me, you'll be amazed over that when you get to that 4 or 5 month period. And Jim always said, and I think it was because of me, because after 3 months, I was a house on fire, boy, and I could not have been completely well in only 3 months. I was clogged right up. So Jim always said, until you've taken the heart drops for 4, even 5 months, don't do anything more strenuous than you were doing before you started the heart drops. And then he'd say, after 4 or 5 months on the heart drops, you can go and chase rabbits. In other words, you're good to go. You've got enough increased blood flow that you can do these things, walk farther than you used to, or work out better, or do exercises, or just have energy and have more vigor for life. So, for those first few months, despite how you might think you're Superman, you must give it time to do the proper job. The other thing that you can expect is that your blood cholesterol level will go up. And that's just proof that the heart drops are working. When the plaque is dissolved, it has to travel somewhere, doesn't it, to leave your body, just like our other wastes. So when I got on the heart drops and I went to the doctor and I had a blood test, he was in shock because my blood cholesterol level went from 3.0 to 8.2, and he was shocked. I said, Doc, I feel like Superman. There's no problem here. So when you need the heart drops, you should expect, at least for a few months, that your blood cholesterol level will go up. It doesn't mean a thing. It can't hurt you. It's when cholesterol is stuck and restricting blood flow. That's where all the danger is. So don't be worried about those things. The Strauss heart drops, they kind of act as a detergent to clear congested arteries, veins, right down to the tiny ones to your eyes and ears. Everywhere you have blood flow, or supposed to, that's what the heart drops seek to do, is to ensure you have blood flow everywhere you have a vessel to carry it. It helps
Wayne?
with varicose veins. Yes, Paula.
Yes, we have a comment from Nana. It's not a question, just a comment. Do you want to open that conversation up now or later? And I can unmute her. She looks like she's still around.
Okay, she says, took heart drops for a year, was doing good for a few months, but now have fatigue and right leg has pain in calf, thinking of starting again. Nana, please do. Please do that for yourself. Start on the heart drops. The dosage runs, and this is Health Canada dictates this, from 1 milliliter, that's a full dropper, 3 times a day, to 2.5 milliliters, 2.5 droppers. Now, I can promise you this, you can't overdose. And I'm not trying to convince you to waste product, but one time at a lecture, Paula can tell you, at a 2-hour lecture, I drank a 5-week supply of Strauss heart drops in 2 hours. And of course, nothing happened to me. It reminded me of when I was a Cub Scout and we were supposed to sell the apples at the shopping plaza. And I realized the more apples I eat, the quicker I'll be done. And all you need is the bathroom. You don't get sick. Your body knows what to do with natural substances. That's the huge difference between herbal medicines and Western medicines. Our body has no equipment really to handle man-made chemicals. So Nana, please start on the heart drops again. I hope you're drinking enough water, or enough, you've got to drink enough water. That fatigue, I don't know how old you are. It's none of my business, but that you don't need to be suffering. And so I'll say my prayers that you start on the Strauss heart drops again. And if you have any other questions or issues, please, the company will put you in contact with me and we'll have a telephone conversation.
Okay, I'd like to do that.
All right. Well, God bless you. And I know you're going to do better, Nana.
Wayne, am I putting your cell phone or email in the chat?
Email. My email is fine. Anybody can
course.
contact me anytime. I hardly sleep anyway, so you're not bothering me. The ingredients. Herbs are not chemicals synthesized in a laboratory. They're high quality foods. They're rich in compounds that are missing largely in today's Western diet. Liquid herbal extracts work very quickly as they enter the bloodstream immediately without first having to be digested. It's very important, especially if one's digestive system is not working and functioning properly. So they support the liquid herbal formulas support your bioavailability very strongly. Your body gets to use those beneficial herbs put together synergistically, gets to use them fast. Some of the ingredients, the total ingredients are extract of garlic oil, water, hawthorn berry, hawthorn leaf, well known for centuries to be good heart herbs. Cayenne pepper, very important, one of the 5 best medicinal herbs on earth. Motherwort, bilberry leaf, and white willow bark. So if you look at the major ones, garlic, known for centuries to help lower blood pressure and improve circulation. Aids in the treatment of heart disorders and circulatory problems. Helps detoxify the body and protects against infection by enhancing immune function. Hawthorn dilates the coronary blood vessels, lowers cholesterol, and restores damaged heart muscle. They're used for anemia, cardiovascular and circulatory disorders, high cholesterol, and lowered immunity. Cayenne, fabulous cayenne, improves circulation, aids digestion, and repairs the stomach lining. Acts as a catalyst for other herbs. Great for the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, the pancreas, the spleen, and stomach. It's an excellent stimulant, and as I said, helps lower the cholesterol levels. Strauss products are checked in a third-party laboratory for their quality and effectiveness. And you can, from time to time, you may notice a slight difference in the color of your heart drops. It can be sometimes a little spicier than other times. And again, nature doesn't duplicate itself. There's no 2 pine trees that are identical, no 2 giraffes, and no 2 tomatoes. They're all different from one another in some ways. So the important thing is we have this synergistic benefits of these multiple herbs in this formula. And the Strauss family had their craft down so cold and so well. You just won't find other products on the market like the Strauss heart drops. They are truly in their own level for effectiveness.
Wayne, do you want to mention the taste so we can prepare people?
Yeah, I hate the taste. I do take the cinnamon flavor. Some people like the taste. I personally don't, but having said that, I've taken about 160 bottles now, and it's like Buckley's. They say it tastes horrible and it works. Well, ours doesn't. Herbs are bitter to start with, so it probably won't be your favorite taste, but this is important medicine and you're taking it for important reasons and you just want it to work. Jim Strauss used to say, did you ever chew into an aspirin? He said, you won't like the taste very much if you chew one. So, just take them and we promise you they'll work.
And how long and how often should one take the heart drops, Wayne?
Well, what we've learned is that it's a minimum twice a day. What we have learned is somebody with problems, you may not get by on just one a day. I know this from personal experience with many people and many friends. So a minimum of twice a day. You're best at 3 times a day if you can manage it. And it's like food. We eat 3 times a day, or we're supposed to, and you'd like them spaced out so that it's always in your system working. Every drop of heart drops works, but you want to keep it in your system and keep working. So 3 times a day is best. You can take it 5 times a day if you want to. You can't hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you have any issues currently today, any of those things, congestive heart failure, angina, enlarged heart, you've had stents, you've had bypass surgery, you're diabetic, take the maximum dose, get the results as quickly as you can. Just thought of a point that I missed, and now I've lost the point that I missed. But
maybe about the alcohol, and the fact that we use non-GMO, high-quality alcohol, and there are people who are concerned about alcohol consumption.
Yes, you're in a dose of heart drops, you're actually getting 6 drops of fruit alcohol. Now, we've not had any issues or any complaints once with alcoholics. However, if a person was concerned and wanted to err on the side of caution, you take just an eighth of an ounce, tiny bit of water, heat it so that it's hot. Put your dose of Strauss heart drops in there, wait a couple of minutes, and the alcohol will have evaporated off. It's in there as a preservative and to draw out the most beneficial properties of these herbs. But you needn't be concerned with that. It's part of, I believe, of why to me it doesn't taste good. I personally hate the taste of alcohol. I never have liked it. So,
And we did have a question here. Do you take it on an empty stomach? I'm answering in the text in the chat box saying yes, ideally on an empty stomach, but not necessary because it's taken sublingually, which means under the tongue. It absorbs into the bloodstream immediately and bypasses your digestive system.
that's correct. That's correct. Now, I got to be honest with you, folks. I haven't always taken it on an empty stomach. To be honest with you as well, I don't even use the dropper anymore. I just take a swig. I got tired of using the dropper after 30 years. So knowing I can't hurt myself, and I'm lucky I can afford to take it. But yeah, and it says there's another question: do you mix it with water? Preferably not, but you certainly can have some water after you take it, especially if you've held it under your tongue for a minute or so. So you're not going to hurt yourself taking water afterwards. And if you have to mix it with water, if you find it, then do that. You just got to get it into you. Now, I want to talk a minute about bypass surgery and stents. I just reviewed that you have 50,000 kilometers of vessels, arteries, and veins inside you. Each of us do. When you have a bypass surgery, they may be replacing 6 inches to bypass that clogged artery. Unfortunately, they'll usually take that vein, or always take that vein, from your legs or somewhere else in your body where you were meant to have it. It's part of your blood circulation system when it's in your leg, or we wouldn't have it there. So let's say you had a triple bypass and they end up taking other veins and replacing 18 inches of your arteries. That's 18 inches of 50,000 kilometers. What about the rest of your body? How about your eyes, your ears, your feet, your shoulders, your rear end, your toes, your hair, everything else that needs blood, your brain, all your organs? They're not necessarily getting it. That's the magic with the heart drops, is that they're made to make blood flow everywhere you have a vessel to carry it, just like humans were designed and created to do. So the other thing that's really stressed me out lately, I know 4 men who have had heart issues and checked for bypass. And in each of these 4 men, they only bypassed the arteries that were greater than 70% blocked. So I have one of them died 2 or 3 months after the surgery. And the other 3 have 1 or more arteries that are 70% blocked that they're not bypassing. I'll tell you something, folks, you can have a heart attack with a 30% blocked artery, never mind 70. So that really stressed me out learning that. I don't know what the smartness or the intelligence is behind that. There's already a big lineup for surgeries, so it can't be for business. And I just don't understand why they're leaving those 70% or 60% restricted arteries still in a person. So, and I'll tell you another thing, folks, it's a lot easier to prevent a heart attack than recover from one. I was lucky. I was young enough, 35 years old. I was strong, and I did discover the Strauss heart drops within 5 years, or else I wouldn't. What I did do was make plans to die young. It ran in my family, and so I thought I'm going to be the youngest, and that's what I did. I didn't investigate until that.
Oh, Wayne. Oh, you're unmute. Oh, you need to unmute.
Oh, how much did you miss?
2 seconds.
Okay, I won't repeat it then.
No need.
But really, there's no replacement for just clearing out your circulatory system. It's the best. You want 100%, 70, 30, 50, to heck with that. You want 100%. You want it in every vessel. You don't want problems with your feet and varicose veins and trouble with your heart or your brain, God forbid. So onto the kidney blood pressure formula. It promotes healthy kidneys, helps maintain normal blood pressure, promotes a healthy urinary tract, that's for sure, and helps reduce water retention. Your kidneys have many, many functions. It's like your liver. They give you a statin drug, which purports to work by governing down your liver's function. Like you put a governor on a truck to let the driver only drive at such a speed, then the governor doesn't let him go more than 60 miles an hour. Well, that's basically what the statins do with our liver, is govern it down. Here's one of the problems with that, folks. Our liver has many, many functions beyond just producing cholesterol. It is produced in our liver because we need some, but in my opinion, that's no way to treat clogged arteries, is just by slowing the clogging process. So in the drug maker's defense, they don't claim to clean you out, but everybody that has a heart issue is put on those statin drugs and usually blood thinners. We weren't meant to have watery blood either. We were meant to have blood the thickness it's supposed to be. So I have particular angst with those two drugs because they're the biggest selling drugs in the world, and they don't attack your problem. They're trying to slow it, really. Anyway, on to the kidney blood pressure again. Juniper berry, uva ursi leaf, marshmallow root, goldenrod, parsley leaf, ginger root, horsetail, golden seal root. That's nature's strongest antibiotic herb. Fabulous. It's in the Strauss kidney. It's in the Strauss bladder formula, and it's in the Strauss prostate formula for men. And it's very important because bacteria is often the source and the culprit of bigger problems in those parts of our body. And it grows very quickly back in those parts of our body. So kidney formula is one of the formulas that you should be diligent about. Try not to skip a dose, and it'll help you not retain water. It's just very good for your kidneys and help them work the way they're supposed to work. Juniper berry is used in chronic urinary tract inflammation or infections, stimulates the flow of urine by raising the rate of glomerulus filtration. That's the process by which blood is purified and water filtered out. Juniper berry will return the renal epithelium to normal secretory action. Uva ursi leaf, useful for kidney and bladder infections, diabetes, and prostate disorders. Hence, they're in our formulas for those ailments. Promotes excretion of fluids, strengthens the heart muscle, fights bacteria, soothes and strengthens, disinfects, and tones mucous membranes of the urinary passage. So it helps to reduce accumulation of uric acid as well. Marshmallow root, good for kidney problems, fluid retention, bladder infection, digestive upsets, headaches, intestinal disorders, sinusitis, and sore throat. It aids the body in expelling excess fluid and mucus. Parsley leaf, good for high blood pressure, kidney disease, bedwetting, fluid retention, gas, halitosis, indigestion, obesity, prostate disorders. It helps the kidneys, bladder, liver, lungs, stomach, and thyroid functions. Golden seal root, as I said, that's nature's strongest antibiotic, anti-inflammatory herb. And the action goes directly into the bloodstream and helps regulate liver functions. A potent antibiotic and one of the best infection fighters. It can be used for many illnesses and ranks high as one of the best general medicinal aids in the herbal kingdom. Gravel root combats prostate disorders, kidney stones, and problems related to fluid retention. Acts as a diuretic and urinary tract tonic. Now, you'll notice that some of these herbs, do the same things. They'll help in the same ways. Strauss recognizes the difference between us all. We're not identical. We're like snowflakes. So you'll find that with the Strauss formulas. Maybe the best example is our menopause formula. There's 20 herbs in the menopause formula. It's a very complex formula, and boy, does it work. And that was part of the magic with the Strausses. They would put in 2 or 3 herbs that are historically proven to do similar or the same things because they know we're all different. And that's why we can guarantee the effectiveness we do, because the Strauss family in 8 generations did such a great job understanding and putting these herbal formulas together. So that kidney was wonderful for me. What it did for my blood pressure way back then and since. And we recommend, again, for a minimum of 3 months. If you have an issue, my friend Joe had a tumor on his kidney. He took it for 6 months and his blood pressure normalized. And the kidney, he'd been going to the Firestone Clinic in Hamilton, Ontario for 8 years, and his tumor was no longer there on his kidney. So, once again, nature and our bodies know what to do with natural substances. They really don't know what to do with chemicals and things that were not around when we were created. The recommended diet, just a few points. You try and eliminate soda pop, no matter who you are and what your condition is. It's so much sugar. Coffee, all dairy products, and any food containing wheat, oats, barley, or rye from your diet, and limit your salt intake. You're wise to use sea salt, not table salt. That is not how we should control our iodine level. And the reason for avoiding all those grains is that they're all genetically modified today. We have no original wheat left, but we have some 200 strains of genetically modified wheat. And somebody wrote a book called Wheat Belly, and there seems to be proof that it will not only make us gain weight, these GMO grains, but it'll make us gain weight around our middle. We don't need extra weight anywhere, but around our middle is particularly annoying and disturbing. Incorporate a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables daily, and make your plate colorful. If you're making a soup or a salad, try and put as many colors of vegetables and fruits in there as you like. We're meant to have all the colors, and nature has color coded our foods, I think, for the creatures. For example, blue foods, blueberries, blue grapes are great for pain. Red fruits like cherries, red apples are for red blood cells. We can only keep red blood cells for 120 days. And your body will tell you when you crave something natural, like cherries. I know when the cherries come out, they're so beautiful when the season opens, and they're crisp and sweet and lovely. I'll eat a basket, and then I'll buy another bag or basket, and usually the last few go spoil because my body's told me I don't crave them anymore, which means my body got its fill. And if you think about things like that, you may relate yourself. It may be something different. My best friend Joe, he always craved red foods. It's for red blood cells. So beets, tomatoes were his favorites, and Brussels sprouts, a good green vegetable. Drink pure water daily, and try and drink enough. It's amazing how much we're supposed to have, and I don't know anybody who actually drinks enough. At my weight of 200 pounds, I should drink 12 bottles a day. I don't. I drink about 5 or 6 16-ounce tumblers a day. And for every coffee that you have, you should have an extra glass of water. So water is just so important. Our body is 62% water. Our lungs are almost 90% water. So if you have a cough or end up with the flu, colds, and that, and you're coughing, keep in mind those lungs need water. It's also how our sinuses can make mucus that we can be rid of. So that water is just so important to us. You must try and drink enough. Avoid as best you can genetically modified foods. avoid the use of microwaves if you can, and choose stainless steel or glass cookware to cook in, not aluminum. Aluminum used to be the Cadillac. All the ships would use spun aluminum pans and pots because they were considered the best. If you look at the bottom of your aluminum pots and pans, you'll see scratches. So someone has likely ingested that aluminum, and it's very strongly believed right now that dementia, Parkinson's, and so forth, these mental dementia ailments are caused largely by two things: aluminum, think of the aluminum cans and aluminum cookware, and cholesterol plaque. Thanks to the nuns in the United States that agreed to be in this study many years ago, donated their brains to science. And those that had dementia, they found plaque on the brain, and they found what they called tangles, little black hairs, not like on your head, a full head of hair, but tangles here and there on the brain. And so that cookware is very important. We certainly stopped in our house using the aluminum cookware. It used to be considered the best, but it turns out, no, it's not good for us. So that's an important point. The kidney blood pressure drops and the Strauss heart drops work amazingly together, not just for high blood pressure, but for helping condition our heart and our kidneys. So they're great formulas. The third formula that is really mostly for our heart is called CardioCalm. And this is the formula that corrected my arrhythmia, my supraventricular tachycardia. Now, I have friends, football players, that either played longer than me. The one fella, he went into the gymnasium business for a career. He owned gyms, and he continued to lift heavy weights. And all of us end up wearing our pumps out. If you play football long enough, your heart's a pump. We wear them out because 100 times a day, your heart's torquing right to the maximum. You're up against another 300-pound person, pushing on each other as hard as you can. Jim Strauss once said that heavy weightlifting and football are stupid games. I said, why would you say that? I was a football player. He said, because you're not horses. And he meant that literally, that, and it's proven the average football player that plays 5 years more than high school lives 10 years shorter by average than the average male. And I know some men that were the strongest men I ever met, and pacemakers, and died sadly in their early 60s and went from powerhouses to just shells of themselves. So this CardioCalm was really made for two things: to help our body rebuild damaged heart cells, the health of our heart, and the other one was for irregular heartbeat. And that's why I took it, was the irregular heartbeat. 3 months, regular heartbeat for me. My one friend was 5 months. That's the fellow that was 400 pounds, and he had a crazy irregular heartbeat. His would go from stop to 200 beats a minute. Lucky for Joe, he didn't feel it like I did, or it would have drove him crazy. The other fellow who was in the weightlifting business that I mentioned, he was 6 months. But I believe that's because he continued to do this heavy work until he was 72. So maybe Jim Strauss was right. We're not horses, and we're not meant to do that extremely heavy stuff, especially as we get older. There's a couple of more questions. Can you take several different drops for different conditions at the same time? You bet you can. I probably am on an average of 4 or 5 Strauss formulas all the time. And the heart drops is always one of them, but all the time. And in addition to that, I take about another dozen supplements between curcumin, turmeric for inflammation. I take a vitamin C powder first thing in the morning. I take a B compound. I take full spectrum minerals. I take K2 so that my body's getting the magnesium it needs, accepting it and using it. So I take probably, if I showed you my counter, there's 30 things in my area, And so I'm probably taking at least a dozen different health products every day. But the Strauss formulas, yes, I take 4 or 5 at a time. I don't take them as directed. I have to be honest with you. I just oftentimes take them together. I've tried to do better at splitting them up, take them 1 or 2 at a time. And then even if I only leave an hour or half an hour, then take a couple of more. They say that's the better way. I'm thrilled with the results I've gotten. And my mojo is I want you all to have what I got. I got basically my life back. And now I have lived in February, Valentine's Day. I've lived 37 years since the heart attack I had at age 35. And I have been busy, Kapala will tell you, and in good health. I'm a going concern, lots of energy. Still don't sleep enough. Another question here from Kim. They see the products on Amazon. Are they the real thing? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. In the United States, Strauss is the only company on Amazon, and there's a reason for that. We had some issues with some of the people, so it's the Strauss company that's on Amazon in the United States. But yes, it's the real Strauss product on Amazon. Can they all be put under the tongue at the same time? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, honestly. One at a time under the tongue. Let it stay if you can for a good minute, and then swallow any balance. But no, don't put them under your tongue at the same time. You want all the benefit that you can get taking these products. You want good results. So that's what we recommend. Now, the cardio calm, and Health Canada just told the company last August that if they added a tiny bit more skullcap herb and juniper berries, tiny bit more, they were already in the formula, that we could claim it as a calmative for anxiety. And it was only a short while before that I learned that people, including one of our own staff, were taking the CardioCalm for their anxiety. I did never put that together. But now Health Canada says, because we have added those little bit more of the 2 items, say that we can claim it as a calmative. So I guess it's not a surprise if it calms your heart down, it can have that effect through our body. And being calm is the best state to be in, that's for sure. Again, 3 months minimum on the CardioCalm. I have to be honest, 3 months did it for me. My friend Joe was 5 months. My friend Gene was 6 months. But these were football players that had fairly lengthy careers. The one kept in the gym business, lifting weights into his 70s. So we are all different. And you are, once again, best to take them and take the Strauss heart drops at the same time. Everything works better with Strauss heart drops because the medicine, not only the oxygen and the food and the water and the wastewater, but the medicine, these other herbs, you want them to get to where they're going to help you. So that's why blood flow is always going to be our most important body function. Again, it's recommended eliminating dairy products. Certainly limit the high animal fat foods. Fruits and vegetables, that's important for all of us. Drinking enough good water is important for all of us. Avoiding genetically modified foods. It's basically the same issues that I went through with the heart drops. Now, breastfeeding mothers or pregnant women, we do not recommend that they take these formulas, only because we can't be 100% sure that because the baby is also getting what the mother's taking. And there's very few things in the medicinal world, natural or otherwise, that are approved for expecting moms and breastfeeding mothers. Now, we do have 2 formulas that are specifically approved for expecting moms, young children, and breastfeeding moms. Do you want to just talk about those two products for a minute, Paula?
Hi, Wayne. Absolutely. The first product is called Cold Storm. It is made with only fresh garlic bulb extract, 660 milligrams of garlic per milliliter. This product is recommended for ages 2 and up and is also safe for nursing mothers. So it's a great product to have in your first aid kit for the whole family to take. It is an immune product recommended specifically for cold and flu and upper respiratory challenges. It works very quickly. You can take it as a daily tonic, maybe to prevent or as a prophylactic, but it is best used for acute symptoms. As soon as you feel something coming on, go ahead and take it and just follow the label directions.
I'm sorry we've gone over time here, folks, but I just need to cover a couple of more things. I apologize. First of all, a couple of questions. Kim asked, sorry I came in late. Is it true the cardio formula helps with clearing out clogged arteries? No, that's the Strauss heart drops that are to clear clogged and partially restricted vessels and arteries. So it's the Strauss heart drops, not the CardioCalm. The CardioCalm is for arrhythmia and to help the body rebuild heart cells. If products freeze during shipment, does this harm them? No. You don't want to keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer. You may see some congealing. You can either put the bottle in some hot water or just leave it in at room temperature, and it won't hurt them. Always shake the products, the bottles vigorously. You got to remember there's herbs used in these, and you want everything that's in them. So shake the bottles vigorously. Another question. Do you take them indefinitely or should you take a break? Well, some people stay on the heart drops for good, like me. But yes, the other products should work in 3 to 6 months for everyone. And it's good to, it's good to take products such as these every couple of years if you're on them like that for 3 months. Why not? You want to stay well. That's the point. And that's why I don't stop taking them. I want to stay well too. And I don't want to go back to where I was at the time of that heart attack. Margaret asked, this is being recorded. Where will we find the replay? You'll find it on the Strauss website. And those website addresses have been put on here. It's straussnaturals.ca in the United States, straussnaturals.com. straussnaturals.ca in Canada, straussnaturals.com in the United States. So I'm going to try and hurry up these last few minutes, and I apologize for taking the extra time. The Strauss Bladder Prostate, both those two formulas, they're very similar. Only men have a prostate. Amazing product. My dad's prostatectomy was canceled in Boston after 3 months on this product, the prostate. And if a man is on the prostate, he doesn't need to be on the bladder. Women don't have a prostate. We all have a bladder. And this is a powerful formula. If you have a urinary tract infection, please order Strauss Bladder formula. And if you're not satisfied, and if you no longer have a urinary tract infection, or if you do have it, you'll get your money back, but you won't. You won't have it. If you take that. And the other thing I need to warn about the bladder, prostate, and the kidney formulas, you will notice results in days. Within a week, you'll notice, leaking, incontinence, all the issues, going to the bathroom too many times through the night. That will change in the first week. Please don't stop taking it. Please take it for 3 months and do the job properly. You won't be sorry. Now, just quickly to finish up the two women's products that we've just this year brought back in liquid form. Amazing, both of them. The Strauss Woman's Wonder. That is for the difficulties suffered during the menstrual cycle. It's only taken by our ladies and young ladies 3 days per month. If you're regular, the day before your cycle starts is day 1 of 3 days. If you're not regular, the first day your menstrual cycle starts is day one, and you take it for 3 days. And I'll be honest with you, rare is the lady that has to take it more than 3 months and not have those symptoms again, the terrible bloating and missing work and missing school and hot water bottle and cramps. Rare is the person that needs to do it more than 3 months. That's 9 days in total in 3 months. We've had women taking it 1 month, 3 days, and not suffered the terrible cramps. So woman's wonder, it's incredible. If you're suffering yourself or your daughter or your sister or your granddaughter, please try it. You will not be sorry. We guarantee it. And the menopause formula, it's our most complex formula, 20 herbs, fabulous herbs. And all I can tell you is it works. Hot flashes, night sweats. My dear friend and neighbor that Paula knows, her name's Lorraine. She was my first personal guinea pig. And she said for 15 years, she hadn't used a blanket to sleep at night because she soaked her bedclothes, soaked the bed every night. Terrible. And she was on our formula for 4 days, and she has used a blanket every night since. And I was curious. So I asked her after being on it a couple of months, would she please stop for a week and let me know, did the symptoms come back? Were they as strong as they used to be? The hot flashes and that? Well, I talked to her a few weeks later and she said, no, I didn't quit for a week. After 4 days, I started sweating again. He said, to heck with you and your week. She said, I went back on them. So they work. We promise you, we guarantee you, you can't be hurt and you can't go wrong. So that's the Strauss menopause formula, available in health stores or from the company on the website. I'm assuming on Amazon as well, Paula, or yes. So is there any more questions? Will the prostate drops help a man that had radiation to the prostate and is now fibrotic? I think so. My dad was on these radiation seeds or pills for 2 years. I didn't know about this. And then they said, well, you need the prostate removed now. I convinced my dad because Boston canceled his open heart surgery after 3 months on the heart drops years before. So I was able to convince my dad, it's not going to kill you in 3 months. Take the prostate formula, go back to Boston. They'll check you. They're going to test you. And they canceled his prostatectomy. And so help me God, my dad lived another 12 years with a healthy prostate. When he died, his prostate was still good. So again, we guarantee these things, folks. I appreciate you. I think that's all the questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you join us again. You're welcome anytime, all the time. I just want you to have what I got, folks. And that's a healthy life back. Life can be wonderful if you're healthy. And if you're very unhealthy, life can be terrible. So please consider this. Call anytime. Lots of information on the website. We have fabulous representatives, our ladies back at the office, Paula's team, fabulous ladies, wonderful people that care about you, just as Paul and I do. And even though we may not meet you or all of you or any of you, you're in our hearts. And we pray for your good health. So thank you for joining us. And please join us again. Tell your friends. Don't suffer anymore because you don't have to. Just call us and bid you good day. And you can join again tonight if you like. There's a 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time webinar. Hopefully I'll do a better job with the timing, but I guess I'm too talkative. So I apologize for dragging on extra time. Thanks for joining us, Paula. That's it for the day. Good luck, folks, and best wishes for great health for 2026 and beyond. And we're always here to help you. So don't hesitate ever. Thank you again.